under collars. I'm trying to think if I have a Pinterest thing on collars. I have something about neck something. Neck designs or something, I don't remember. But fine, you can, there's all sorts of collars. There's Shingo Sato that does pleated collars. You can do origami collars, which might be too much, but I'm just saying, I've seen collars that are two hands. You'll see this if you look up collars images. There are two hands that look like this that come around the neck and and it looks like they're holding the collar together. And then there's one that has a cat on it with a ball of string on the other side. So there's things that you can do to collars. This is the Peter Pan collar. So it's named after the fact that it was used on children's clothes. It was prevalent in the 60s for women's wear. As we said before, you see it periodically. Chanel did it last fall. But the Peter Pan collar is more of a flat collar, and it's developed by the actual torso block. So you need to decide when you're creating this. They show you in the textbook various types of rolls, meaning how far it is away from the neckline. At the center back, the collar sits at the neckline, but then it starts to migrate away from the neckline, and the more it goes away, the higher it goes up the neck in order to get to the center front. So you need to decide, first of all, what type of stand do you want? So this is a stand and a collar, so it's going to ride up the neck slightly and then come back down. So if you have it, you can have like a 1-inch stand, a 1/2-inch stand, or an 1/8-inch stand. So it can be as flat as you want it. Again, think of Bertha collar. So you see, it's not necessarily, this is Victorian. Bertha collar, Bertha collar. It's very wide Peter Pan collar, essentially. In the 30s, Bertha collar. So you can decide how, in order to control the stand, what you do is you overlap the pattern either less or more. So on here, you're going to decide they have a 1-inch stand. In that case, you overlap the shoulder tips 4 inches. A 1/2-inch is 2 inches. 1/8 of an inch is a 1/2 inch. And you can go anywhere in between too. So if you have no predetermined idea, then you can just go with it. So what you're going to do is you're going to match up your front and your back. I took a piece of paper that was way too large. Match up the shoulder, high point shoulder there. This has to stay constant. It's this part that gets overlapped. So if you want 4 inches, you can do it the opposite way too. I'll do it the way the book is. So 4 inches, you would measure 4 inches down, and essentially, because it's not necessarily going to touch it, you would aim that at the 4-inch mark. Make sense? Or if you want 2 inches, measure down 2 inches there and aim that point 2 inches. So we'll say it's there. Pretend I did 4. But you can measure down 4 inches and then just aim it there because we have that dart there. And all you really need to do in regards to this is copy off the neckline. There's D, there's our notch. It's not really D. That's all you need. So now we'll decide what it is that you want your design to be. The design classically is just a curve around the neck. You could do Kermit the Frog. You know, every time I teach this, I say the same things. It's like a play. So if you want that shape, then you know what you do. You draw that shape on.
That's the Kermit neckline.
Is my ruler here?
I stole it.
Do you have it? Done that, you can remove this. You don't need that anymore. Then decide what you want to happen with your collar. How long do you want it to be? 2 inches, 8 inches, 12 inches, 18 inches, and then you just follow your neckline. So we'll just do 4. It can be less than that too. So in this area here, with your French curve, you can smooth that off. You don't need that. If you have a point like that on from your neckline, just smooth it off so that it's a nice gentle. I just have a slight one. So if you don't want this to be smooth around the neck, you can layer Peter Pan collars. So you can have one slightly smaller than the other that sits on top of a longer one. You could have 3 of them. You could have a scalloped edge if you want to. You could have that edge if you wanted to. At the center front, I'm going to remove 1/4 of an inch. So drop this 1/4 of an inch. Lift this 1/8 of an inch. French curve time, once again, I'm just drawing it in. Just follow the curve. So if you want this scallop, then draw that in. Mathematically figure out what needs to happen. Remember, this is just half of it. So the other half is gonna go there. So if you're doing something scallop, just make sure that it either runs into the center back so that it continues that curve, or if you want that to be at the center back. So these are things that you can decide to do. If you don't want it hanging straight down, you could bring that in 1/4 of an inch and taper it there so that it goes away from the center front as it goes down. There is a collar that they used to wear in the 17th century that essentially went all the way down here. Probably was wider than this. But if you want to do that, you can do that. You don't have to, I'm just pointing it out. But this shape can be whatever you want it to be. Any questions? And then usually it's cut out on a folded piece of paper and the whole collar is then created. And then the under collar is made. So if I have this pattern, I'm going to subtract 1/8 of an inch here again and taper it to 0. If I have it smooth there, again there. You can take it off on this bottom edge too, but. Can I borrow your French curve once again? Oh my eye. Does anybody have any questions on Peter Pan?
No, I would definitely not use that one.
This is also, like I said before, doing this is the basis of the Bertha collar, which I just talked about.
The Bertha called?
Well, that's behind me. Bertha, like the name.
Oh.
But it's also the origins, not the origins, but the sailor collar is developed in the same manner. So if you were designing something with a sailor collar, it would be done in the same manner as the Peter Pan. So create one of each of these, and then think of your own and develop one for yourself that you can then add to your torso block.
So we're making our own type?
You're gonna do one of each of these. You're gonna do a shirt collar pattern, a stand pattern, and the Peter Pan pattern, and then using one of those 3, develop your own original design. That's not the standard. And that one you will create and attach to the neckline of your torso block. Any questions?